A new Star Wars comic came out that is so controversial, a corner of a subsection of Twitter exploded in anger, full of cries that Star Wars hates women. This is Exasperated Nerd Explains. As anyone can tell you, the billion-dollar franchise that just finished off its latest trilogy starring a woman as the titular hero that brought us strong female leaders like Princess Leia and Ahsoka Tano, that currently has an ongoing comic book title, Star Wars Dr. Aphra, starring a female, lesbian, person of color, definitely hates women. I mean, the facts are all there, I just don't know how I didn't put it all together before. But what happened, you might ask? They must have some reason for making all these claims. The short answer is, this lady whose name I honestly forgot while reading the comic, Tonga, our poor victim, is a female, lesbian, person of color, and is killed by Boba Fett at the end of the latest issue, instantly making Boba Fett and Star Wars by association misogynistic, racist, and homophobic. That's like the bigotry triple crown. Well, case closed. Obviously, Star Wars hates women. I don't need to examine this any further, but just for fun, let's take a closer look at this particular issue to see how misogynistic, racist, and homophobic it really is. Well, here's our poor victim torturing a man just to let him know she's willing to hurt him in order to accomplish her goal. Like, here's a woman stabbing a man in the face. Here's Squid Lady breaking the stabbed man's neck. It looks like he even cries a bit as he dies. Our poor victim here again, shooting a couple men who attacked her and the quasi-kidnapped Terminator she brought along. She then spares the animal they used to gnaw on her captive after learning she is just a cub. Here's Squid Lady killing a man in a flashback. Oh look, here's our poor victim's brother dying in a flashback. But we don't see who killed him. I'm going to assume it's a man since the other guards were all men. And then we get to Boba Fett, racistly, homophobically, and misogynistically killing our poor victim, Tonga, who was probably just in the way. Wait a minute, this can't be right. That's all the deaths in this issue, and by the numbers, one woman was killed by a man, one woman died in childbirth off panel, one man was killed by a presumed man, and 4 men are killed by women. Okay, back up. There must be more going on here. I have it on good authority. This is a woman-hating series and franchise. I've been on Twitter, guys. It wouldn't lie or exaggerate. Let's look at the story arc as a whole so we can put into context all the misogyny and bigotry. A group of bounty hunters took a job for a crime syndicate, which included Boba Fett, Terminator, Squid Lady, and Tonga's brother. Squid Lady killed their client, the heir to the crime syndicate, who came along on the mission for plot purposes. Tonga's brother died in the ensuing conflict, and the crime syndicate subsequently was after all the bounty hunters involved, making the other bounty hunters want to kill Squid Lady, who disappeared for many years while 2 factions of the crime syndicates fought each other for dominance in the sector. Tonga also blamed Squid Lady for her brother's death, leading her to work with the original syndicate that hired her brother in order to get vengeance. The big revelation in this 4th issue is that Squid Lady killed their client that was the heir to the dominant crime syndicate because he hired them so he could kill his girlfriend who was pregnant. His girlfriend was the heir to the rival crime syndicate faction who later died in childbirth, presumably because she was sad. There is precedence.
She's dying.
We don't know why. She has lost the will to live.
Their orphaned daughter is now of age, and Squid Lady thinks she can unite the 2 crime syndicate factions with this heir, because I guess evil crime syndicates follow the same rules as monarchies and will recognize a young teenager as their leader, even though she has been raised away from the family business and probably has 0 actual interest in running a giant united criminal syndicate. Oh, and to top it off, Squid Lady is dying already, so she says Tonga can kill her if she wants to, after knowing the truth. With this information, our poor victim, Tonga, realizes she agrees with Squid Lady's actions, completing a little mini character arc. Look at that, going from thoughtless vengeance to understanding and acceptance. Arc complete, the writer killed her off for a combination of shock and story efficiency, as there was nothing more to tell for her story, and she would just be an excess character in the rest of the comic with nothing to do. Undoubtedly, this was done for misogynistic reasons though, right? You have all these people weeping due to the death of Tonga, such a memorable and important character that I forgot about her between issues, since the series started in March and has been delayed due to the pandemic. Well, I mean, this person's just an idiot and can't read apparently, because the woman didn't have a miscarriage, the mother died, which is the whole point of the plot. Star Wars hates women, guys. 2 women died in this issue. That's too many. Okay, but what about all the other deaths in the series? This must be the exception rather than the rule. The others must be filled with scores of dead women at the hands of evil men. Okay, so here's the deaths. Right? Headshot. I'm assuming he's dead. Is that a man? I'm going to say yes. Wow, this is all the first few pages. You know what? I'm going to skip and just show you the totals, but also I'd like to note our poor victim's kill count, which includes 1 beheading. Sixteen men are killed by women in these 4 issues. More men killed by women than by other men. 1 woman is killed, 1. Another dies in childbirth. I think it's clear, Star Wars hates men. How could I be so blind? Luke, dead. Han, dead. This tentacle guy, dead. Criminal syndicate guy, dead. I mean, what? Not only that, the majority of these deaths are by women. When will Star Wars stop being such a platform for man-hating feminazis and come back to telling normal sci-fi fantasies hero journeys? I will say, this reaction to the death of one character, especially since she is a person of color and a lesbian, is the reason why you cannot make story considerations when it comes to diversity. The mob leaves very little options when it comes to stories. They want representation, but not only that, these characters also cannot be evil because then you are showing an underrepresented person in a negative light, which is unacceptable. Then these characters also cannot be killed because that's just mean. And also, they have to win and be nearly perfect, because to imply otherwise is as bad as not having them represented at all. These stipulations lower the stakes of a story considerably. One of the reasons prequels or stories taking place in the middle of other stories often feel irrelevant is because you know certain characters will not die or lose. There are lower stakes because the story is already constrained by other plot lines and it becomes inherently less interesting. That's why there are often new secondary characters that are introduced in these stories, because they could face real consequences and potentially be killed. Even this story takes place between Empire and Jedi. So guess what? Boba Fett is walking out of there. It just remains to be seen if they get away with this heir and to end the crime syndicate feud. That character could die. Stories that have characters created to check representation boxes have to be able to be evil and be killed. If you complain every time that happens, you are just asking for less interesting stories or less representation. Plus, for some reason, people cannot seem to separate the actions from a character that is bad from the author. People are calling for this writer to be fired for this, which is insane. If a bad guy in your story does something bad, that just shows they are bad or a threat. That does not mean the creator agrees with what they did. Based on that standard, you can't have a villain be bad at all. If the author has to agree with the actions of the villain, you can't do anything. That's the dumbest thing that seems to keep popping up. Villains have to be able to do bad things. The fact that people don't understand that anymore is baffling. In conclusion, Star Wars does not hate women. If anything, they overemphasize women at this point, and these people are idiots. That's all there is to it. Characters have to be able to be evil or killed regardless of their gender, race, or orientation. If not, all these characters that represent differing groups will be completely forgettable because they are too perfect and therefore their stories are not worth telling in the first place. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a like. Check out the other videos on my channel. There's a fair amount of Star Wars content. and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.